Welcome you all to the brand new episode of the MP's podcast, and today I have CV also along with me for the casual talk segment. Let's start this segment today with a famous Tirukural couplet that says, Sulantrum yerpinnadu ulagam adanal ulundum ulave thalai. This defines that irrespective to whatever changes that happens in the world will still need to depend on the agriculture and need to follow it. How true it is. So, your guess is right. Today's topic is something related to agriculture. Let's speak something about the Atmanirbhar Bharat allocation on the agriculture sector. Let's see something about what a government has allotted for this scheme in the form of reforms and also in the form of fund. Before we get inside this topic, we thought that we would give you some data which is very disturbing, but this is the right forum for us also to give this data about farmers' suicide, which has been presented by NCRB, that is the National Crime Record Bureau. This clearly shows that there has been a consistent number of more than 11,000 farmers committing suicide every year. We have data from 2013 onwards, which says 11,000 farmers commit suicide. And in fact, another sad thing is the farmers' suicide contribute almost to 11.2% of the total suicide that happen in the country. Why is all this happening for the farmers who feed us, that too in regular intervals? What do you feel about this, Vignesh? Any views from your side?
Murgesh, this is definitely a depressing situation, Murgesh, and this is a dire state of the farmers in the country. Now, when you ask me what could be the reasons for this suicide, there are multiple reasons with respect to agriculture. Agriculture is in itself a risky business. It's subjected to a lot of, climate vagaries and a lot of other issues. But if you check the data, in the past 3 decades, the agri income has not seen a drastic increase at all. In fact, it's been stagnant. Let me just give you a data from NABARD survey, a recent survey by NABARD, which was conducted in the rural economy, about the rural economy. It states that 70% of the rural households are dependent on agriculture, but their farm income, that is income from cultivation per annum, is just about 36,000 per year, which is abysmally low. In fact, if you take other data, you can analyze it. You get to know that agri income growth has in fact been lower than the inflation for those years, for many of the years in the past 3 decades. So in fact, farmers in many years have been losing money than what they earn. So if you ask me to tell you one reason, then I would blame this kind of a situation on the lack of political willingness to bring reforms in the sector. Now you could point out that Modi government brought in this vision of doubling farmers' income by 2022, and subsequently they brought in reforms like PM Kisan, say MSP being increased to 1.5, agri food processing sector reforms. But my point here is these reforms have not been fundamental in nature. Now what I say by being fundamental in nature is, for all these reforms to be beneficial, you need a robust agri marketing infrastructure and a logistical infrastructure. So say an IT infrastructure like ENAM should be promoted in a much bigger way. And we need changes in, say, ECA Act and APMCs Act. And that is where I believe the recent Atmanirbhar reforms will be a game changer, Murgesh.
Yes, absolutely. So you brought us to the topic. So before we go into our views on the agriculture reforms, let's brief the listeners on the allocations on Atmanirbhar Bharat quickly and briefly. So
Definitely.
Government NABARD scheme has allotted additional funds of 30,000 crores over and above the 90,000 crores which will go as farmers loan. And the second thing is 15,000 crores that is going to be invested on the infrastructure facility for the animal husbandry. So basically this is going to be used as milk processing and storage facility. And we were really impressed about the last 4 things basically that speaks about the allocation of 1 lakh crore. That's going to be something which is huge, which we have not heard for the last 10 years, and this is basically for the cold storage as well as the normal storage facility. And top to total and few amendments in the Essential Commodities Act will also be a great reform for the farmers. And finally, one thing which we were really impressed about is on the agricultural marketing infrastructure that has been brought in. And I see all these infrastructures to be very transformational in agriculture, and I look more futuristic also. Say not only just on the allocation of funds, but this is actual reform that can help the farmers in getting a sustainable income. So let's start with the first thing, the allocation of a huge fund of 1 lakh crore for the infrastructure facility. Today, what is the major problem for the farmers? They don't get the right price for their items. Reason being, the products are all perishable in nature and they are forced to sell it at undesired price due to the perishable nature. Why is all this happening? Because they don't have the storage facilities with them, and they have been misguided by the people around them. So government, whatever that they have brought is going to be very useful for them. And one thing which strikes me right now is, can you guess how much farmers in the country lose just because of not getting the right prices? This is about 63,000 crores, unimaginable. So every year they lose a huge amount on this. So Vignesh, what do you feel about this allocation? Will this bring a big change in the current situation?
Yes, Murgesh. As I said before, this is that transformational reform that I was mentioning about. So when we talk about an agriculture infrastructure investment of 1 lakh crore in cold storages and warehousing, we also need to see this with a complementary reform in Essential Commodities Act, where some amendments have been brought about. Now, why am I interlinking these four? Why are these reforms necessary? This is because, see, for a farmer to gain some income, gain more profit, we need to avoid them selling at or we need to avoid that the farmers make a distressed sale, that is selling at throwaway prices. Now, when this ECA Act was brought in, it was a time of scarcity, and so that was brought in to bring about benefits for the consumer side, to make the price stabilize and to make sure that quantities of produce are available in the market. But right now we have a huge amount of production. So we need right prices for the farmers, for these producers that we bring into the market. But because of this ECA Act, there has been a lack of development of cold storage and warehousing, as you mentioned, and hence the farmers have not been able to get a good price. So let me just state how this ECA Act works with an example. Say I'm a trader and I buy say 50 tons of potatoes from the farmers nearby, and I store it in my warehouse. But under this Act, ECA Act, which is passed in 1955, the government can pass an overnight order saying that any trader can hold only up to 20 tons, which means the rest of the 30 tons have to bring it into the market at throwaway prices, which would be a huge loss for me. So this created a fear and made sure that the traders or the businesses did not invest in creating cold storage and warehousing facilities. So they stopped, they limited their buying from the farmers itself. So when you bring about these kind of amendments in the ECA Act and saying that many products will not be under the ECA Act and hence the storage capacities can be improved, this definitely will be transformational. But also one more point is, instead of just increasing the limits under ECA, I would suggest that ECA Act for many of the farm producers has to be completely removed.
Absolutely. So, and this takes me, once you speak about this topic, this takes me to another topic called as contract farming. So, once the storage facility is also improved, the companies can also get inside on the contract farming kind of things, which will definitely be helpful for the farmers in getting a sustainable increase in their incomes. So again, one thing which I see, which is very impressive, is the agricultural marketing infrastructure, and we rarely see this has been spoke by any of the media or any column that has been written about this thing. So this is going to be a big transformation in the agriculture, the way it functions. So it looks very futuristic and also very essential at this point of time. Bringing in IT inside the agriculture is going to be a boon for the farmers. There is no doubt about it. And IT infrastructure, whatever that they have brought in, is going to connect every villages, every towns, districts, states, and country as a whole. So now what happens because of this is, the current scenario which we spoke was that farmers are not able to get the right prices. There are multiple reasons behind it. But here, with this platform in place, they can sell their product anywhere in the country where they get the right price. For example, a farmer in Teni who can sell his mangoes in Jammu Kashmir if he gets the right price. This is definitely going to be a major reform when it comes to the IT infrastructure, and this will basically facilitate the farmer in getting two things. One is the right price for his products, and second is he will also move away from the local petty politics, whichever that is happening in his region, and it will be a widespread for him to reach across the country. So what do you feel about this, Vignesh?
Murugesh, let me just digress from this question a little bit. Before I answer this particular thing, let me just mention 2 points on the Contract Farming Act. Contract farming, the amendments are being brought about and new laws being brought about by the center. Why this is going to be beneficial is, the companies, like say example PepsiCo, can increase their storage capacities. This, apart from the companies buying more produce, this is also going to be beneficial for agri income itself, because a lot of farmers in India are small and marginal farmers who have a very small land holding. So when these are all brought together, the input prices itself is going to reduce a lot, and in contract farming the inputs are going to be provided by the companies itself. So that was my point on contract farming. But now talking about this IT infrastructure, this is actually brought about, introduced in 2016 as ENAM, Electronic Platform for a National Agricultural Market, with the objective to unify the markets in India and create a single market. That was the objective. And this was expected to bring about a fair price discovery for the farmers. But this has failed to take off in a big way because of the APMC sector in the state. The agriculture being a state subject, the APMCs have been under the state and they have been reluctant to join this national platform. So the government has decided that they bring in reforms to make sure that they either incentivize the states to let their APMCs join this national platform, or override the states and create an alternative infrastructure. Now, what is the issue with the APMCs itself? So if we look at APMCs the full form of APMCs is Agriculture Producer Marketing Committees. So every state has their own act under which APMCs are constituted, and they have their mandis. So in this present system, each mandis are give some licenses to a particular number of traders. Say 10 traders are there in a particular district. They are given some licenses, and the farmers can sell only to them. So ultimately, what happened is, these 10 traders are mostly with political connections. So they take the licenses. and they form a cartel and they offer only a lesser amount to the farmers. On the other hand, even the retailers who are in the cities or towns, they can also buy only from this license holders. So this cartel, which pays lower price to the farmers, also charges higher price from the retailers. So the benefits reach the middlemen, but the losses are borne by the farmer and the price giver, which is the consumer here, Murugesh. So any changes being brought about in this is going to be that fundamental change that I was talking about initially.
Absolutely. Say one point which really strikes me hard is the middleman price, whatever the price gets increased because of the middleman. Say, let's take an example. Today, if we have to procure a coconut from the farm directly, it is roughly around 8 to 10 rupees is what they get as one coconut. So, but if it has to be sold in the market, they sell at a price of roughly around 30 to 40 rupees. So basically this increases because of the middleman, and this also can be controlled with the kind of IT infrastructure, whatever that they are bringing in when they are directly selling in the market. To be conclusive, so I just wanted to give my inputs about the agricultural reforms, whatever that they have announced. I see these reforms to be very futuristic. There is no doubt about it. And as we said earlier, this can help the farmers in getting a sustainable income, undoubtedly, and also bringing in a sustainable structure in the agriculture. That's the main thing that we wanted to stress on. And I see this to be best in the last 50 years, undoubtedly. Vignesh, some comments conclusively.
Definitely, Murugesh. This is going to be transformational, as I mentioned in the beginning. And as I would say that this is like the 1991 reform time. Many agriculture economists have also commented on that. This could be that 1991 transformation that we saw in secondary sectors, in manufacturing and services. The similar impact could be seen in agriculture itself. So now this could help increase the agriculture income to that level that the farmers see this as a remunerative profession, and we could see the agriculture actually booming from this point on.
Absolutely true. So that is what from us on this agricultural reforms. Please follow us for the more topics on it. Thank you so much from our side.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the MP's podcast, and we intend to reach you with more interesting topics related to the local, international politics, interesting analysis, simple economics, expert talks, and travel blogs. We look forward for your valuable feedbacks and support. You can now reach us in Anchor, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, and YouTube under the banner The MP's Podcast. Meet you all with another interesting topic. Till then, it's your MP signing off. Thank you so much. Good luck and cheers.